just about ready to take this thing out for another test drive, and we were kind of wondering why the throttle didn't open up the secondaries very far. And what we found out was there's a little bit of play on that pedal. So that D shape is like probably not D shape, so we're gonna have to fix that. All right, we're working on this accelerator pedal, and I wanted to show you some of the things that I ran into. This is the replacement one that I'm gonna put in. It's obviously a used one, but that D fitting here on this one side is a lot tighter on the shaft, and so I have to put in a new or a used throttle pedal and a used Z-bar or shaft, whatever you want to call it. So to make this fit right, what I had to do was take all of the paint off. Since I had painted this up before, I had to strip all the paint off, and then also drill it out, even though it had new bushings, with a letter V drill bit. And there's the sizes that I saw on the shaft and on the letter V drill bit. And so, I don't know how well I can show you this, but this is the old one, and it just was, it's kind of hard to do one-handed. Anyway, there was just too much slop in there when that D was situated in place. So I guess as a last resort, you could always do something like take that nut off and pop a spot weld on there, but that's going to be the last time you get that thing off cleanly. And if somebody else does a repair, I'm sure they'll be having a few choice words for you, or whoever did that. I'm sure that would make that slop go away. But if you ever had to service those bushings again, you'd be in bad shape. So anyway, this is how it ended up. And you can see it's just really nice and smooth. Put that on there all the way. And it rotates really nice. The other thing we did was we lubed it up with some of this graphite lubricant. We definitely do not recommend any kind of petroleum-based lube on that shaft. It's just gonna collect dust and dirt and cause it to fail much quicker. Once this thing is in place, it's not a bad idea to hit that area with compressed air to clean it out once in a while, because that's really a low end and a lot of dirt and dust collects there, especially if you have a carpet or something. It's not something that's normally serviced. But when it goes bad, it can cause a real problem with you getting, in this case, full throttle, or in an extreme situation, that thing will slip enough that it won't work at all. So anyway, that's the throttle pedal situation. Well, this is what it looks like just before it goes in. Normally what we would do is we'd clean up this back portion and then paint it, but it's very possible that the next engine that goes in here, which is going to be pretty soon, I hope, will have a drive-by-wire system. So this is just a temporary fix to make sure that we can get it in and out of the shop. Of course, the only thing that's lacking now is a self-locking nut on the end. And of course, we can either buy a whole boatload of them or stop what we're doing, head down to the hardware store and try to get one of the right flavor. So there, that was a lot faster than driving down to the hardware store and listening to somebody that may or may not know what a self-locking nut is, right? Okay, here's a curiosity I just ran into while I was checking the brake fluid. The bail, that wire retainer that keeps the top of the master cylinder on, in this case, is straight across. There is no bend in it. All the other master cylinders I've seen have a bend in that lower part next to the hinge that they have, and it makes it much more difficult to get that master cylinder top off. It's possible this is an original master cylinder that was specifically for the van that had this straight bail. Very interesting. If if we replace that, which we probably will with the disc brakes, we will be retaining that bail, because that is going to be a lot easier to use on any of the original type master cylinders. Never seen that before. All right, here's another little ounce of prevention I'm going to do on this van before I start taking it out there on the road too far, and that is a couple of double filters that are see-through. I'm going to put this on the suction side of the fuel pump, basically way back there at the fuel tank. There's a rubber hose already. I'll just cut into that and put this in there. This will make it a lot easier for me to see if there's crud getting out of that tank, and also prevent it from getting up into that carburetor. No sense in contaminating that new carburetor. Of course, this is just a standard type of 5/16 fuel filters. Here's a couple of them that I got. Personally, I like the Duralast better. The ends are a little bit more secure. They're not as rough as the Napa ones, at least the ones I'm getting. You can see the part numbers there. And it's FL5, FF5, 16DL 5/16. Then about 8 of those 5/16 clamps. You don't really need the pressure that these put on there. You could get away with spring clamps. Actually, that's what I prefer, because they're a lot easier to service if you do have to change them out, instead of fiddling with these spring clamps underneath the van. It's a lot easier just to grab the pair of pliers and move those things out of the way, instead of unscrewing a bunch of these. And the other thing that I did was I started off with these Y fittings, but I didn't really like the way they split too wide. So I heated them up and bent them a little bit closer to what I like, and then epoxied them, because there was like evidence of cracks or something starting there. So I guess I got to get a little bit better at bending these, or turning them the way I want. But I did that on both ends so that they make a nicer, smoother transition. So it's nice side by side. So that's going to go underneath the van, right at the gas tank, and catch that crud. Okay, this is what the installed setup looks like, and took about a dozen clamps, and I figure might as well leave an extra one, because if anybody gets down under here, there's probably going to be one that runs away from them or gets lost. So we put this rod up there to make sure that this is held up real nice and high, and we are gonna double check this to make sure that nothing gets kinky on me. So other than that, we did not cut the line coming out of the fuel tank. Let me get past this differential. Oy. And we only made a slight bend on the metal line. We had to release it from that retainer right there. So other than that, that should give us an idea of how much crud, if any, is in there. And we will check on that after a tankful or two. This is the original canister style oil filter. A lot of these have been replaced with an adapter that allows you to spin on a standard type of disposable oil filter. This van came with a couple of extra of these canister style, and I accidentally bought a couple, so I figured what the heck, we'll just run several of these canister filters through here. And they have this O-ring which has to go up in there and has to be oiled before you put it up. Now, the last guy that did this didn't oil it. Well, maybe a couple of them before, but they end up getting baked on there if they're not oiled. And then they're just really difficult to get off. I had to scrape with all kinds of stuff for, gosh, at least a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes to get all the residue off. So I'm going to show you. Okay, so that surface on the outside has to be completely free of any kind of black marks. I mean, that's got to be down to the metal. And when you put this on, if I can do this one-handed, you gotta make sure it goes in the groove. Nice and easy.
I don't like to use like grease or anything to hold it in there, but I know some people who have. Okay, now that feels pretty good. Yeah. All right. So the canister goes back in there along with that metal housing and tighten it from the bottom. And that's pretty much it.